What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Realignment Dynasty here on NCAA 14, featuring that college football revamp, of course. We are out here, man, with our deep dive special as we are going to check in on a few various conference championships, bowl games, as well as take a look at what that college football playoff field, what that 18 playoff is looking like, as well as taking a look at where Troy is going to go this postseason. You know, are we going to go to a regular bowl game, or are we going to slip into that top 8? We are right there, but we do not control our own destiny, so it's going to be a fun episode, guys. I hope you're excited for it. If you are, make sure you go ahead, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And with that, let's go ahead and jump right into it, starting with a couple of conference championships throughout the country. So let's go ahead and jump right into the recruiting special, starting with one of the best quarterbacks in college football this season, John Gordon, who actually was a transfer from Southern Florida. He came to Virginia and has led his squad to the Mid-Atlantic Conference Championship game against North Carolina, and not only leading them to the conference championship game as well, but on top of that, he's out here leading his team, you know, to a home game in the conference championship. So you love to see that, as John Gordon is going to go ahead and throw an early touchdown, and that will help solidify a passing yards record at the University of Virginia. Bryce Perkins had it in the 2019 season, but, you know, we're 10 years in this dynasty, so decade-long record that is finally going to be released here, as now we'll get to see a little bit of Gordon's running game here, and Gordon doing a really nice job on that speed option as well, able to pick up a gain of 10, so a dual threat quarterback for sure, and I'm really interested to see how high he goes, you know, in the upcoming NFL draft, because he definitely has, at the very least, day 2 potential. Now, if he's not a guy that's drafted in the first round, he'll certainly be selected in that second or third round. We'll just have to, you know, really kind of wait and see what ends up happening with him. But doing a really good job of orchestrating the offense early, as his team does have an early 2-score lead. And Jamal Garrison also getting the school record for most receptions in a year. He's now at 101. That's also been something that's a decade long. As now Gordon gonna get another option, and Gordon's just slicing up this defense early. You know, he's picking in spots. He's looking good. He's looking extremely comfortable there as well. You love to see it, as Gordon's gonna get himself another touchdown, man. Second rushing touchdown of the ball game for him already, and his team has a big lead at the moment, 21-3. But getting it out to Peterson, you know, he's not going to be a guy that is going to, you know, really rest on those morals. He is going to continuously attack you throughout the game, and we're seeing it right now. And Score is going to launch a beautiful strike to Jamal Garrison. It's going to go for yet another touchdown. Already a convincing lead here, as his team is going to be up 34-3 and helping Jamal Garrison continue his electric season, man. 21st touchdown of the year, shattering a record that was established all the way back in 1990, and he's just going to keep this thing rolling, man. Beautiful throw to Ernest Sparks. That's a 47-yarder, as Gordon, you know, getting all the time in the world in the pocket, and we are really seeing the pocket presence that John Gordon has, as he delivers a great ball out there to Walker. That sets up his third passing touchdown, 5th overall touchdown in this game. And this might be touchdown number 6 overall, as a receiver makes a play for him. Ernest Sparks, 67 yards and 51-6. Now, it wasn't perfect for him. He does throw an interception on literally his final drive. He does throw an interception on that final drive, but it still doesn't change the fact that it is just a fantastic performance, as Virginia Cavaliers, I'm pretty sure this is pretty clear from the get-go, but Virginia Cavaliers are going to win the Mid-Atlantic Conference Championship here in year number 2, as it's going to be a really big victory, 51-6, but I believe does end up being the final score, and we will see this man be crowned player of the game, as both teams are going to go ahead and shake hands here real quick, as there is John Gordon getting, really, he's getting some love from his teammates, man. 400 yards of total offense. At least 400 total yards as his team celebrates that conference championship. So the other conference championship game that I really wanted to check in on is the Great Mid-Eastern Championship game between the Miami Redhawks and the Michigan Wolverines. Now, Michigan with an opportunity to play a little bit of spoiler here, as the Redhawks are coming in ranked number 13 in the country. And listen, if they do end up getting just a little bit of help, then what can certainly happen here for sure is, Miami could very well possibly sneak into that top 8, and that would be huge for this program, as always one of those teams that was considered one of the little brothers in the state of Ohio. Of course, little brothers to essentially Ohio State, and Cincinnati also being on the rise as well. But Michigan, even though they had a down year, they do bring Terrence Rafful to the table. He's one of the better running backs in college football. Comes in, like a low to mid 90. He's a very talented tailback. We'll see what his career entails down the road, but he didn't get a lot of big plays off today, but he did get some big runs in when it matters the most, grinding out the clock as his team, he gets some runs in. He's looking good, and his team also ends up winning conference championship games, so they end up upsetting the number 13 team in college football, as it ends up being a 27-20 win for the Wolverines of Michigan. So while Terrence Rafful did not have the flashiest game, what he did end up doing was he was a grinder, man. He wore down this defense. It helped Michigan pull the upset against Miami of Ohio, and that definitely helps Troy, because that's one West team from behind that they have to worry about potentially leapfrogging them, and that will help a little bit with those college football playoff hopes. But Rafful, solid day today, 21 carries, 101 yards, and even found the end zone, a touchdown that ended up making all the difference. So with the conference championships taken care of, we do see what this 8-team field is looking like, and unfortunately for us, we do not make it into this 8-team field, so that definitely sucks. We'll have to wait and see later in the episode where we're going to go, but one of our custom coaches do get in, defensive coordinator Justin Jones from UCF. His team gets in as the 5 seed. They will be taking on Oklahoma in their quarterfinal matchup. We also do get to see multiple different teams in the quarterfinal. LSU makes their first appearance in this 8-team field, as well as teams like Oregon, TCU, and then to top it all off, we do also have Kentucky getting in as the number 3 seed, with USC coming in as well as defending champions. They're in as the 6th seed, and then Wisconsin will look to redeem themselves after being knocked in the quarterfinals despite being the number 1 seed. So should be an interesting little tournament, and we'll check in on how the quarterfinal games are progressing here later on in the episode as well. So with the college football playoff field officially set up and ready to go, let's go ahead and rock right into the midst of bowl season. We're starting off with the Arizona Wildcats taking on the aforementioned Oklahoma State Cowboys from that Rocky Mountain Conference. The Big Southwest, actually. Arizona coming from the Rocky Mountain Conference. And Oklahoma State, man, they got a nice little defense, that's for sure. They got a nice safety in John Paul Jones, who actually chose to go to Oklahoma State over Oklahoma, if you guys remember, in the last season of the Coach Grossman Dynasty. So, that's a little interesting snippet. Here is John Paul Jones, reads the play perfectly, except the only problem is he grabs the face mask when you're clearly not supposed to do that. So it is going to be considered a 15-yard penalty. But he's going to come out here. He's going to make up for it. Make sure the tailback is all wrapped up and ready to go as well. As now, Walker going to go ahead and, going to run it on the inside. There's Jones again. I thought they were going to call for that face mask. I really did. But luckily, he gets away with it. He's having a good game. 6 tackles. 3 TFLs as well. He's doing his thing around the field. More of a box safety kind of player, not necessarily as much into, the actual coverage, like he can cover, but that's not his strong suit. He's more going in there, being physical, coming up and making a tackle, and that's exactly what he's been doing, making plays all over the field, being like that 8th man in the box at times, as Arizona at certain moments of this game have had a really difficult time running the football. They've gotten some big plays, that's for sure, but the offense of Oklahoma State kind of let them down a little bit here, as the Cowboys have only scored a touchdown in this game so far. But John Paul Jones at least showing up for the time being. Hopefully the rest of his teammates can also go ahead and do the same thing, but we'll just have to wait and see, as John Paul does a great job fighting for the Bronx. He's able to get the tackle. We'll see if he can do that again here on this 3rd and short. Read the hole and powers through it, but can't get there soon enough though, as it looks like his fantastic effort. He had a ton of tackles in this game. It's going to be too little too late, unfortunately, as the Arizona Wildcats are going to take care of business here in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, winning by a final score of 38-14. A tough look and a tough way to go ahead and end this football season. So even though the team did end up losing, John Paul Jones was flying all over this field today. 16 total tackles, 14 solo, 2 assisted, and 3 TFLs to go with it. He was all over the field in this one. Just the problem was he was a little bit of a liability in coverage. Got burned a couple of times, and even though no one necessarily, neither the defense or the offense as a whole, played well, John Paul Jones didn't help necessarily that much in terms of coverage. Although that being said, very good job tackling today. So the next bowl game takes us out to the Barstool Bowl game out here in Arizona, I do believe, as we got Colorado State taking on Texas from the Big Southwest Conference. In Colorado State, their offense is headed by Marcellus Wallace, who, sophomore tailback, he is extremely talented, one of the best players that have come through to Colorado State, dare I say it. But this ends up being a shorter game for him, as Wallace, he's going to get a good run here in the Arizona Bowl, but he pulls his hamstring, so his day ends up ending extremely early. And Colorado State, they really do suffer because of it, as they just simply could not keep up with the number 14 team in America. Texas is going to win this bowl game 30-21, but injuries was definitely the difference in this ball game. So Marcellus Wallace had himself a pretty difficult time getting anything going, because that Texas defense was pretty stout today. 9 carries for 32 yards for Mr. Wallace, but he did have a nice catch out of the backfield, was able to also take a halfback screen for 11 yards. But unfortunately for him, that early injury kind of doomed his team, and that's the reason why they lost here today. So here's hoping we don't have any early game injuries as this one, as we do have 2 custom players featured in the San Diego Credit Union Bowl game between the Miami Hurricanes, who come in ranked number 18 in the country, and the Nevada Wolfpack, trying to represent for the Rocky Mountain Conference. As we take a look at 2 wide receivers for the Miami Hurricanes, the U in Freddie Flash, as well as a guy that was created for this specific series, Muhammad El-Bassa, who is a true freshman, by the way. So I'm excited to see how both of these players are going to turn out in this one, as they're going to try to get Freddie Flash involved in the offense early, trying to set up the screen, and Freddie Flash using that quickness fact, get a gain of 8 in that one. So nice job, getting that receiver involved. We'll see if they can get Elbasa involved as well, and they do. First catch of the day is when he is wide but naked open over the middle for a gain of 22. He comes in as the number 3 receiver, while Freddie Flash is the number 1, as Elbasa is going to get another look over the middle as well. Gain of 17. He is certainly doing his job for sure in that slot role, at least in his freshman campaign, while Freddie Flash, you already know, is going to be doing his thing on the outside. But, a decent performance for Miami in the first half offensively. Defensively, though, a lot of work that needs to be done. The team comes in down 20 at the half, but this should spark them a little bit. A nice throw down the sideline that goes for a huge first down. Could, at the very least, set up a field goal, but I am sure that they're going to be thinking about a touchdown at this point. We're already in the fourth quarter, by the way, down by 5. Chance to possibly win this game is Brooks. He's going to roll out to the left. He has Elbasa deep, and he connects. 50-yard reception for Mohamed Elbasa, the Montreal Canadien, as that helps orchestrate the game-winning drive that Miami will use to win the Holiday Bowl, as they avoid upset in bowl season, winning by a single point. So an electrifying comeback indeed, which we did end up seeing Brooks Rokes and Rowan Thompson leading the way. But Freddie Flash and Mohamed Elbasa also did their things as well. Freddie Flash getting a carry in this one carry for 13 yards. But that receiving game also did some work too. We saw Freddie Flash also get 4 catches for 79 yards in this game. And then Mohamed Elbasa, the true freshman from Montreal, Canada, traded the cold winters of Canada for sunny South Beach. 5 catches, 100 yards in this bowl game, and one of the best games that he's had in his early collegiate career. So up next, we got the Ticketmaster Birmingham Bowl between the Michigan Wolverines, who we saw earlier in this episode win the Great Mid-Eastern Conference Championship game. And then we also have the Pittsburgh Panthers as well, who are representing for the Yankee Conference. So going to be a very good matchup here on tap for sure. So it pits Terrence Rafful and his offense against Chef Searsfield McDaniels, who is, repping for the Pittsburgh Panthers. Really nice dual threat quarterback, or at least a dual threat quarterback that has a pretty good future. We'll see, what he can do for the remainder of his college career, as he drops a nice throw over the middle to Wesley Wee, just right there in the bucket, and his team coming out here 7-3 lead. Even though it is a pretty defensive-minded game, McDaniel, taking care of business. He throws another dot right over the middle, and it's another throw for Wesley Lee. He's been getting a lot of action in this one, as his Pittsburgh Panthers squad now up by a touchdown officially, as McDaniels does get to the sideline, but Shannon Smith gets absolutely crushed, ran over, bamboozled. He does not show any concussion symptoms somehow, but still a 1-possession game. We're out here with just a few minutes left to play, trying to mount a comeback, and ultimately it is going to end up falling short. So, it's pretty slow game. Didn't see a lot of action in this one, to be honest with you guys, even though we saw the full game. But Pittsburgh does end up coming up on top, winning 10-3. In Michigan, they can't win the conference championship game and the bowl game. So low scoring affair for sure, as Terrence Rafful, only managed to amass 11 carries for 16 yards. It was a difficult day for the offense of the Wolverines, but Rafful did do a little bit better on the receiving game, 4 catches for 28 yards, but was largely a no-show. Now, as for Searsfield McDaniel, the junior quarterback actually had himself a decent day. 13 for 21, 145 yards, had a touchdown, and did not turn the football over, which is a really big deal However, that being said, dude is known as a dual threat guy and didn't really get the chance to show that either. 12 carries for negative 32 yards. Still, he does lead his team to a bowl victory to help his team end the year on a high note. So the positions that usually don't get too much love in this series is kickers and punters. And you know what? With this deep dive special, I want to make an exception because we have one of the best punters in America playing in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. And ironically, a matchup between two teams that prior to COVID and prior to, this realignment storyline we got going on, these two were in the same exact conference, but now facing off against each other in postseason play. Got 24 Minnesota taking on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And even though Rutgers also has custom guys, they're all backup, so we won't see them in this game, but we will be seeing some Jacob Wakefield action, one of the best punters in America, out here on this Minnesota squad, and he's getting some really good punts in early, man. Even though there's quite a few points scored by Minnesota, we do end up seeing him take a lot of punts, and very good coffin corner kind of guy, not really allowing any kind of return. And he's doing his job, man. He's flipping the field, getting some punts down inside the 20 as well, so he's helping his team in terms of the field position battle. As we are getting into the final quarter of play, this is ironically where Wakefield gets the most active, as Rutgers, their defense does start to lock things up here a little bit. And we will go ahead and see my mans, try to help his team, stave off the comeback, because I do have a feeling that it is coming. And sure enough, it does end up, making its way. That punt almost being blocked, by the way, but thankfully Jacob Wakefield, the Alaska product, able to get it off right before we were able to go ahead and right before he got to it. But yeah, this ended up being a lot closer than what it could have been, because Rutgers, they really did everything that they could to try to rally all the way back. But it does look like here, 1 minute left to play, we also, realize they don't have any timeouts. They almost muffed that kick completely as well. Ends up going to be a Minnesota victory, as we see some great punts from Jacob Wakefield in the process. He should have at least one more year of eligibility. So it ends up being a pretty busy day for the junior from Palmer, Alaska, as he ends up punting the ball 10 different times. He ends up netting an average of 40.6 yards on the day, 4 punts of which were down inside the 20-yard line. So a nice day for Jacob Wakefield overall. He also handled the kickoffs for Minnesota here today. He ended up with 6 kickoffs on the day, one of which happens to be a touchback as well. So, a good performance from the punting, helping out these special teams. So speaking of bowl matchups that feature two teams formerly from the same conference, we got Nebraska and Ohio State. Neither team, who is ranked, by the way, going up against each other in the First Responders Bowl. And we got a host of custom recruits on this Nebraska squad. We got Santiago Gracias, and we also have Tiber Guillen, one of the receivers on this squad, also starting for Nebraska. His dad, by the way, head coach of Southeast Missouri State. If you know, then you definitely know, as his kid definitely going to work. 46-yard reception. There's also a guy that's a true freshman that, is created in this series as well. That's Chase Gunner. Chase Gunner, true freshman, might be seeing a little bit of him today as well, if we do end up seeing any 5 wideout sets. As right now, Nebraska having a little bit of a difficult time keeping up with Ohio State, but Tiber Guillen, he's having a solid day so far. 4 catches, 109 yards to go with it already, and we still have at least one more quarter left to play. As speaking of Tiber Guillen, the 5'8" track star, continuing to go out there and take care of business against this defense, but 9 seconds left, a chance to possibly win the game, and Chase Gunner, while getting his first reception of the game, it falls just short. And what formerly was known as the Heart of Dallas Bowl, now known as the First Responders Bowl, Ohio State, they're going to end up winning this game by a final score of 38-35. Unfortunately, Nebraska could not seal the deal, but in terms of weaponry, keep an eye out for Chase Gunner here in future seasons. He could very well be a special player. So Nebraska didn't get the win, but we saw the present as well as the future of this receiving core for the University of Nebraska, as it was led by Wayne Tyber-Guillen, the senior who just played in his final game, 5 catches, 123 yards. Dude was absolutely electric in this game. Also saw Santiago Gracias in his final game as well, 2 catches for 9 yards, but he was more of a blocking tight end. He was never a huge receiving threat, but the future of this program potentially might be Chase Gunner, 5'8", 185 pounds. Dude, 1 catch for 14 yards today, but he's buried on the depth chart. He's going to be insanely talented, though, when he gets more playing time. So now we really start getting into the teams that, we're coming in, ranked top 25 consistently for the most part, but finished just short of getting into that college football playoff. And probably this Citrus Bowl matchup right here, between Alabama and Georgia Tech, probably the best matchup that we are going to see outside of that 8-team college football playoff. I'm going to tell you right now, as both these teams, for a good portion of the year, were actually, in the hunt for it, but, just wasn't meant to be. As we'll go ahead and take a look now instead at Ethan Daniels going to work here in the Citrus Bowl. And, Ethan Daniels, he's a guy that is not the most athletic linebacker, might be, someone who's better off transferring over to the defensive line should he get the opportunity to play in the NFL. Once he gets that bulk up, of course, but he's a good player, man. He's a good contributor for this Georgia Tech defense. As you guys can see, he's not a star by any means as of right now, but you can tell, fundamentally speaking, he does his thing, man. He's not going to miss a ton of tackles. Just that athletic ability might hold him back a little bit. But that being said, Daniels doing his business as he lays down the lumber on Ryan Davis there. He is still able to go ahead and make the catch because this is the University of Alabama that we're talking about. But he's also going to get a sack here, man. He's playing optimistic, recognizing that, hey, they don't have any running backs protecting the quarterback. We send a blitz already. Let's go ahead and send one more guy. And that way, we get that numbers game going as Daniels read it again. He read it, but he just couldn't get there fast enough. Still able to prevent any yards after the catch, though. As one of the best defenses in college football, hanging on by a thread. His team up by a touchdown here. What's been a pretty defensive matchup here overall between the two teams. As we got another 1st and 10. Davis going to try to hand it off, and Ethan Daniels simply unloads it. Oh my goodness. Did he let the hammer down or what? Here's a guy who is certainly starting to go ahead and see himself heat up a little bit, man. You love to see it. As Davis going to try to pass here, but he's going to scramble instead. Daniels had contained. But that quarterback, man, that QB, he is so fast. But Daniels was able to make the tackle anyways. And he has double-digit tackles in this one. 11 tackles already. Make this number 12 here as well. As one thing that Alabama likes to do is run that football. They want to run you into the ground, but Georgia Tech has not allowed that to happen. Matter of fact, they try to set up a screen, and Daniels fights through the blockers to blow that play up. And his team is going to end up winning the Citrus Bowl. They win 21-10, and a great matchup here outside the college football playoff. So Ethan Daniels might not be the fastest linebacker on the field, but that still doesn't change the fact that he was a menace to society. ends up with 14 total tackles in this one, 13 of which happened to be solo tackles. Did have 1 assist, did also end up with 3 TFLs and a sack in this game as well. He was really good in this game, and he has another year of eligibility, so maybe someone that could make his way to the NFL. We never know. But the final game that I wanted to show here in this deep dive special, Justin Jones, the defensive coordinator of UCF, gets his first taste of the college football playoff in his collegiate career. His number 5 UCF Knights are taking on the number 4 seed, the Oklahoma Sooners, who are out here, man. They got a real good football team. Different styles. One team, utilizing the pass game extremely well, top 5 passing offense versus a top 5 rushing attack. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. But Bergeron Ironside, man, coming out here, one of your customs, with a really big play early on, as we also see Emmy Husky Jr. Getting involved early in this game, trying to set up a screen for the first down. But UCF is all over it. Matter of fact, the only scores that we see so far is just a safety, but Bergeron Ironside taking care of business there as well, as that is a couple of tackles for him in this first quarter. As a 12-3 game before the end of the first half, Sawyer going to look over the middle, find Emmy Husky Jr. for a smaller gain of 8 yards there. As now, moving into the second half, as Sawyer looks over the middle, he's going to pick up a first down. That's going to be a gain of 8. And, looking good, man. Looking good for Oklahoma. As, UCF's defense, they are doing its thing for the most part. I mean, you're allowing one of the better offenses in college football, 15 points. You should be doing a little bit better, but UCF, and this was also a problem in the Georgia Tech game as well. We did see them just really having a hard time at times on the offensive end. And this is really going to be that was an Achilles heel for him today. UCF couldn't get anything going, and they're going to end up losing pretty big here, as Ironside's going to get an interception to wrap this game up. So, UCF, thanks for playing. It was a valiant effort for sure from your defense, but just wasn't enough. And Oklahoma, they win by a final score of 28-3, and they will go ahead and advance themselves to the semifinals of the college football playoff, with the winner that Oklahoma will face. That will also be determined later in this episode. So Sawyer Thompson didn't really stand out in this game, but he didn't necessarily have to either. 24 for 36, 154 yards, and an interception. But, his team did win pretty convincingly, and he was pretty effective on the ground. Ended up with 64 yards rushing on the day. Not to mention the senior wide receiver, Emmy Husky Jr., also ended up with 3 catches and 25 yards. Meanwhile, on the defensive side of the football, we saw Bergeron Ironside getting extensive playing time for the first time for this Oklahoma program. The Clarksville, Arkansas product, ended up with 2 tackles, 1 TFL, a sack, and an interception as well. So you love to see that, forcing turnovers out here. Oklahoma wins 28-3, like I said, and they will be going ahead and advancing over to the good old-fashioned semifinals. So now that we're on the college football playoff, at least for the quarterfinals, we'll check in and see how the other matchups are going. Now, USC does come in as the defending national champions, and as of right now, there will not be a new national champion, at least quite yet, as USC, they actually pulled the upset technically. They beat the number 3 ranked Kentucky Wildcats 59-38 in what turned out to be an absolute track meet. The biggest difference here was that Kentucky failed to score in the second quarter, and that was when USC pulled away. It was 35-10 at the half, and the Wildcats couldn't recover. As for the Wisconsin Badgers, last year they actually went against Iowa, who was an 8 seed, and ended up getting upset, but that does not happen here. Wisconsin taking care of business this time around, winning 37-17. LSU got off to a hot start, but 23 unanswered points in the second and third quarter helps punch their trip to the semifinals to play up against Oklahoma. And the other quarterfinal matchup that did end up happening was TCU playing up against the Oregon Ducks out in the Pacific Northwest. Really close game, and it looks like Oregon was going to pull the upset here as well. But TCU, they win 21-3 in the fourth quarter, and they find a way to storm back, able to keep that national championship hopes alive, and that does end up meaning that they will go up against USC in the semifinal matchup. So before we go ahead and take a look at the bowl matchup that we will be experiencing as a Troy Trojan, let's go ahead and take a look at some of your custom guys and where they are going to sign on the dotted line, if they've already done so, starting with the number 1 player in this recruiting class, LeVon James, the 6'2", 109-pound product from St. Louis, Missouri, and he is going to take his talents to the University of Michigan, that school up north. He also had scholarship offers to USC as well, but LeVon James leaving outside the confines of Missouri to play his college football at Michigan. Now, the number 2 player in this recruiting class, at least within the state of Arkansas, is Andrew Kirby the 6th. Now, Andrew Kirby, the 6'7", 217-pound guy from Little Rock, Arkansas, currently in a free team race. He has not officially signed yet. He is still looking at Houston, Arkansas State, and Southern Miss, and it is a recruiting battle that we'll have to watch extremely closely to see where he ends up going, a battle that will take place in the offseason. Now, Zeke Lightning is a 5-star corner from Orlando, Florida, but that being said, he is not playing his college football in Florida. He is going to actually keep it out in the Southwest. Actually, he is going to play at Texas A&M this upcoming season. Had quite a few scholarship offers. Texas, Western Kentucky, Clemson, and Miami all ended up offering, but it was Texas A&M that pulls it out and is going to get a really strong 5-star corner. Matter of fact, the number 1 cornerback in this recruiting class. Now, for Caleb Heck, who's the number 2 prospect in the state of Georgia, the power running back is considering 2 separate schools. He's currently looking at Virginia Tech and Auburn. Whoever gets him is going to get a really big ad, considering he's 6'2", 220, so he has fantastic size, and he's a 4-star guy as well. So he brings some very good ratings to the table, someone that could definitely get some early playing time. As for Deuce Brown, this is a little bit of a surprise here. Deuce Brown, the number 12 corner in this class, he's actually going to go to Southern Miss and able to beat out Louisville. So this is a pleasant surprise. You don't usually see someone like Southern Miss getting a high caliber prospect like Deuce Brown. He can also play some wide receiver as well, so maybe someone that can play both sides of the ball at the collegiate level. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but that being said, a very high quality player. Now, for those of you that don't know my boy Breezes, this is actually his custom player. St. Breezes, the number 2 player in this recruiting class, 6'3", 210 pounds, from Jenks, Oklahoma, but not staying in Oklahoma. Actually, he had 2 scholarship offers, one from Michigan and one from Kansas State, and he's gonna go also play for the Wolverines. So that's now 2 Michigan Wolverines, or at least 2 custom guys in this recruiting class that are going to the University of Michigan. So definitely very interesting to see there. One of the better quarterbacks in this recruiting class, though, is Jace Gentry, a 4-star quarterback from Memphis, Tennessee. Number 15 in his recruiting class. He is staying home and playing his college football at the University of Tennessee, the only school that he was actually considering. No one else bothered to go after him. He was dead set on staying in state and playing for the state school. As for the other custom prospect at quarterback, Isaiah Crocker, the number 21 quarterback, he is actually the only 3-star guy, but he might be a little low. He could be a 4-star caliber player when it's all said and done. I think North Texas certainly got a steal, considering he is someone that has really good mobility and also has a rocket for an arm, right? So that's something that's really intriguing to see. He wanted to stay close to home, and that's exactly what he's going to get here. North Texas, I think they're going to end up getting a massive steal here. So as for where we end up going as the number 12 team in college football, we end up going literally to the exact same bowl game that we went to last year. We go to the Armed Forces Bowl, but we will have a different opponent this time around. Next episode, we will be going up against the Toledo Rockets, who had a solid season. They finished 8-4 within the American Conference, at least this new look American Conference. And it should be an interesting matchup as Toledo is also coming in with a winning streak of their own. They've won their last 4 games. We've won our last 10 games ourselves, so should be a good episode. We'll have some bowl game action for us specifically, and then we'll also check in on some highlights for the semifinal games as well. So should be a real good episode either way. I hope you guys did enjoy this deep dive special, by the way, and if you did, make sure you go ahead, you smash that like button for me, and then also on top of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button for me as well, and hit me up down in the comments. It helps a brother out, not only with growing the channel in general, but helping me out in that YouTube algorithm, because it can be an unforgiving beast for those of you that created content on this channel. So with that, this is John J Gaming on the mic signing off. I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.